Well, Charles, world's stupidest, brain-dead man, Joe Biden, decided to launch missiles into Russia, and now we've got Vlad Max.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Biden's on a week-long vacation to Nantucket. It's ridiculous.
He wants to do a man from Nantucket.
Yeah, I suppose it's a good thing that he takes this much vacation, because imagine how much more harm he could do if he were in the office. But it's a terrible message to pretend that you're running the country with the president on vacation, the vice president. I don't know if she's back yet from Hawaii on vacation. She needs some personal time. Give me a break. There isn't an authentic thing in either one of those two bodies. And we were warned relentlessly by legacy media that the election of Donald Trump presaged the end of the imminent destruction of democracy. That Trump was Hitler. That Trump was going to destroy the entire world. It's exactly what that's projection. That's what Biden, Harris, Yellen, Blinken, Sullivan, Pelosi, Schumer, and all these other demon rats are doing precisely that. Our cities are exploding in Palestinian protests, which are frankly anti-Semitic. In the one up in Montreal, certainly, and now this one, I don't know how much it grew to be in New York City the other night. We have crime out of control. We have a government that has been lying like crazy to protect George W. Bush, the Bush family, and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton for all the crimes that have been committed by them while president and subsequently with their presidential foundations. We have really, since before June of 2015, government resources, U.S. taxpayer funds, have been used to set up and then persecute Donald Trump for 10 years. And these self-same people, Adam Schiff is all over the TV, apparently talking about the dangers posed by Trump's Justice Department when as and if Trump's Justice Department goes after actual criminals like Schiff. I mean, I don't know. I haven't checked this. I saw a mention on my Twitter feed that Schiff reportedly paid a large sum of money as hush money to some boy. Did you see that?
Ooh, I didn't see that.
The figure 7.2 million sticks in my head. I don't know if that was just, It's tough to tell on Twitter and on mainstream news, frankly, whether something is a legitimate story. You got to double, triple, quadruple check things, quintuple check them. I can't see that, Jason. Is there hush money? Yeah.
I'm looking there. It's all just bringing up stuff about Trump and Stormy Daniels. Hush money. It's so stupid. People are talking about NDAs. They're saying in the Diddy trial, or, that thing where, what's his name, Busby is bringing all these other cases that people signed NDAs at these Diddy parties. You can't make somebody sign an NDA to hide a crime. That's not the way that works. NDA is like, don't disclose the outcome of the script of our super secret movie that's coming out in a year. And if you violate this, you're getting sued.
Right.
Or don't disclose that we were considering hiring you for The Apprentice or something like that. You can only sign a non-disclosure agreement to not disclose legal consensual activity. It can't be anything illegal that you're signing not to disclose.
Well, tell that to the head of NPR.
What did she do?
She said something like, truth is such an inconvenient thing. We've got to find a way around it.
Right. Gets in the way. Right. I saw that. Well, there's a lot on X, Charles. You're right. People are bringing up all kinds of good information. I want to recommend people follow you there if they aren't already at Charles Ortel. They can also follow me on X at JG_CSTT. It's pretty cool, Charles. People can get the show live streaming on X. We've got 149 people watching Vlad Max with us there. So, Charles, good news, not nuked yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the approach taken by the Biden administration, in particular, with stupid Anthony Blinken and even dumber, I think, Jake Sullivan, has been to just say, all right, we're going to litigate this matter using ground rules that ignore reality. We don't care about what happened before 2022. We just don't care. In February of 2022, Russia illegally invaded Ukraine. And that's where the story begins. Russia's a villain, 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 villain. Don't bring up what we did in 2014 when the Ukraine government rejected a close association with the West in favor of deepening ties to Russia, and we went in and instigated a coup and a color revolution that brought rise to ultimately the present government. Don't bring up any of that. Don't bring up the assurances given to the Soviet Union as it imploded, that we wouldn't extend NATO eastward. Don't bring up what Bill Clinton did, because he's the one who really did the most damage initially from 93 till January 2001. He's the one who just broke all the assurances made by outgoing former President H.W. Bush and others around him that we wouldn't expand NATO eastward. And of course we did, and did more bad things than simply that. You can't bring any of that up in the Biden world, because Jake Sullivan's a genius. He's going to be president someday. He's won every conceivable award. He's probably, super platinum American Advantage member. I mean, it's just the guy, everything that Jake Sullivan touches turns to a mixture of shit and AIDS. I mean, it's just, he is brutally ineffective, or worse than ineffective. He has done more. He and Biden have done more in this short 4-year span to destroy the image of the United States around the world in ways that may take decades to overcome. All the goodwill in the world that Trump might create in 4 years. People are going to ask the question legitimately, can you trust the United States president to make an assurance or to enter into a treaty that will last more than his term? That's a legitimate question. Trump made progress in 4 years. Biden set the entire world on its ass in the subsequent 4 years. Trump now comes in, tries to clean it up. We're going to need a team of at least one J.D. Vance or somebody like him for another 8 years after Trump to try to restore a sense of honor and dignity and balance to the world. But right now, Joe Rogan is on a tear apparently on this. Others are on a tear. I don't know who can do this, but I would grab Joe Biden by the scruff of the fucking neck, and I would reach out and get a hook to Kamala Harris. I'd yank them back to Washington, D.C. I would get Harris to bounce under threat of impeachment and conviction, bounce Biden out of office, imminent retirement. I put him on notice that he better not destroy any records. And then I'd impeach and convict Kamala Harris. And we can have, let's dispense with the formality of pretending that these two people actually do anything positive. Get them the hell out of town and get Trump ready to exercise firm control by January 20th. And let's hope we have a blizzard, not that kills people, but we have weather conditions that make it difficult for any real damage to happen on these various military fields of endeavor.
Charles,
this
maybe
is
what
this
they
is
could do.
If we have business schools and government schools going forward, this Biden administration should be studied, as should the Obama maladministration, should be studied as examples in how not to manage. I just saw on my Twitter feed, there's a guy, I think it's Lucas Tomlinson over at Fox, is finally beginning to connect the dots in the legacy media on what was going on the significance of Barack Obama's meddling in the 2016 election. That meddling began, I would argue, in 2008, in June of 2008. But as regards Barack and Hillary conspiring, but certainly while he was president in his second term, Barack Obama sicked foreign governments and his top people sicked foreign governments on the nascent Trump campaign, then the presidency, to try to obstruct the course of progress of Donald Trump. They then, I would argue, rigged the 2020 election and thought they would be able to manage the country until they died. And that didn't happen, fortunately. But we need to get back in to understand what exactly, who is pulling the Obama strings, who are the people who are doing that. And I guess one of them is George Soros, probably Bill Gates. And who are these people? What exactly were they doing? What did they get out of their decisions to make Barack Obama and make Joe Biden seem as if they were running things? What do they get back under the table? And how could this ghoul, I mean, this Alex Soros is an idiot. How could you be excited at the prospects of Ukraine sending US and UK and French supplied long-range missiles deeply into the Russian territory? Why would that excite you? I mean, maybe it's the only way you can get out of marrying Uma Abedin.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, how can you get excited about humanity?
No, maybe he's finally figured out what a mistake that's going to be. And he said, I'd rather destroy the world than have to follow through on my engagement vows.
Don't you think he's a weird little clone of George Soros? And this is his plan to rule forever, just clone himself? And he's such a weirdo. Look at him.
I don't know. Look, I mean, he's got, George Soros has quite a few children, actually. He's had several wives. This isn't Charles, the only spawn.
Suit has to be back by Monday.
What?
This suit has to be back by Monday.
Yeah. He probably saw Klaus Schwab wearing it. It's like, I got to get one of them.
Go to space in that.
At home, he probably wears a pink one.
So, Charles, I saw this, I forget her name, but it was a senator on Fox News, talking about how for 10 years, her office has been working on, government efficiency, and she's ready to present Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. Yeah. She's ready. Yeah. To present them with a document that just lays out how to cut $2 trillion, according to her. Seems like a good deal. Cut it.
Again, the fact that Musk has gone into this opaque Twitter place, fired 80% of the staff, and now the renamed X, as far as I can tell, works a lot better. If you can do that in the private sector, where people do, in most private sector companies, they do care about costs, particularly if there's one significant investor watching things carefully. So the presumption must be that there's more waste in the public sector than there might be in the private. So Musk does this in the private sector. Imagine what he can do in the public. I think 2 is light. The budget is over 6. That's a third. I'd be more thinking about, 4 rather than 2.
There's a lot of people who have been, I don't even want to call these people naysayers necessarily, just people who are coming forward and kind of projecting how is this going to work, laying out some of the practical realities of how Democrats are going to push back and the pork barrel stuff and how we got all these over expenditures that people aren't going to want to cut. I mean, we'll see. A lot of people, I don't think you're doing too well betting against Elon Musk, however it is that he gets to wherever it is that he's going. He does seem quite effective, much more so than regular people. It's funny, Charles, I think about how Megyn Kelly said, oh, this is too bro-tastic. But I mean, they're like blowing off rockets and pounding McDonald's on private jets. It is pretty bro-tastic, but isn't that better than just being a loser and having the economy suck and not being able to? Pete Buttigieg can't build 8 electric car charging stations. Elon Musk is in charge of the biggest electric car company in the world. And honestly, when that rocket flies, it doesn't quite give the sense. Anytime NASA ever launched a rocket, maybe this has to do with when I grew up and how many space shuttles exploded. I just am surprised when it doesn't explode.
Right. Well, let's take a few. You made quite a few different points there, but let's talk about the economy for a second. Janet Yellen, thankfully, is either out the door or has announced her departure. And in addition to allowing the data mavens underneath her in the Treasury Department and elsewhere to lie about the true state of the economy, she's done one thing which is really atrocious, and that is instead of financing the U.S. government's obligations at higher cost with medium and long-term debt, she's been ostensibly saving money by borrowing for over shorter periods where the interest rates normally are lower than for medium and long term. But the budget deficit is so large that she's put us in a place where Donald Trump is going to have to refinance trillions of dollars of debt in the near term by the end of next year. While at the same time, he's going to be coping with the legacy problems he inherits from mismanagement by Biden and the Democrats of the American economy. So that's a big problem we face at home. We absolutely have to cut spending. This idea that the only place that spending can go is up is just bullshit. That is just utter bullshit. Yeah. People are cutting, right? You're cutting, I'm cutting. People cut.
We got no choice.
Right. When you have to lower your cost of living, you cut things. And that's what the federal government has to do. We don't need 17 intelligence agencies. We don't need 400 plus government departments. We just simply do not. We don't need 900 military bases around the world. We just don't.
Well, they're also going to the granular level of talking about like the number of people who are working from home and, bristle at the notion of having some sort of tracking system. And it's like, okay, look, here's how you can have it. Either you show up in the office at 9 a.m. and stay there until 5, or you can stay home and be tracked. It's like you're supposed to be working here. You can't. It's a problem, no. Charles. I think people have this attitude, particularly when they're working from home. It's just a productivity killer.
Again, you're being too nice. I mean, what I would be saying is, I wouldn't be saying anything to these people. I'm just, you're going to debate me on this issue, you're fired. Now, Ramaswamy has said, and I haven't checked this, so I don't know whether it's true or not, but he said that there is in some provision of these public sector union contracts that if you have mass firings, the union cannot stop mass firings. If that's true, January 20th, mass firings. And then turning for a second, as bad as the U.S. situation is, Europe's situation is far worse. Because under Trump, there will be, he was president before, people understand that if you commit capital in the United States under a Trump administration, capital is going to earn a fair return. People get that. There's a large internal market, unified market in the U.S. Yes, we have our problems, but we are nowhere near as densely populated as certain places are in Europe. We do not have the European Union on top of us. We don't have this ridiculous bureaucratic superstructure. We don't have as much bureaucracy as they do have in Europe. We don't have tax rates as high as they are in Europe, with a VAT above 20% across most of Europe. So we have lots of advantages. And I think we should compete aggressively against Europe. We should say, you know what? Switzerland had a nice idea, to be a haven for capital. We're going to do the same thing. Fuck you, Switzerland.
But didn't they have to be neutral to do that?
We could do what we want in the United States. We could go and say, listen, Cayman Islands, we don't have as many palm trees as you do, but we're gonna designate 3 out of 50 states. They're going to compete for this honor. 3 of the 50 states are going to have a chance to enjoy exactly the same tax treatment on foreign capital coming into the U.S. as you get in the Cayman Islands. We're not going to let New York do that because New York is bankrupt. New York is never going to address it. I mean, maybe we will in the end let New York do it. But we need to think, we need to be far more aggressive in trying to get foreign capital to remain inside the U.S. because it's getting an attractive rate of return. There's going to become imminently, and it could be in the guise of a global mess akin to what we had in 2007 and 9. China is imploding. It's decades of pretending that it's a success story when in fact it's just another Ponzi scheme, like all the old Ponzi schemes. China's got problems. Europe is in horrible shape. The United States has problems which I believe can be addressed, but we've got to be the number one choice for foreign capital. And we've got to make sure that Americans keep their capital inside the country as well, because it's earning a decent rate of return. Under Obama and Biden, frankly, under Bush as well, and for much of Trump's term, risk capital was getting a negative rate of return if you think about inflation and taxes. You can't do that. You got to give people a return on their capital. Otherwise, capital inevitably flees because there are 200 countries.
So, Charles, Trump has said as soon as he gets back in, day one, he's going to start resolving the Ukraine conflict and, start more energy production and everything. There's always naysayers, right? He says that and people say, well, you can't just restart it, all this other stuff, etc. But I do think, it's already seems to be helping. Bitcoin, it was tickling 100,000, Charles. I know it's crazy and a nonsensical kind of lottery game, but seems to be, because Trump is saying that they want to hold like some kind of strategic Bitcoin reserve. Oh my God, this is crazy, Charles. Howard Lutnick, who I just don't trust at all, he is now, with Cantor Fitzgerald, something is happening with Tether, which
again,
I don't.
I'd rather not comment on it, Jason.
I just want to let you and the audience know about it, even though you and I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. It's just strange to me because this thing is super linked to Bitcoin, and Howard Lutnick is a big part of Trump's,
Yeah. I prefer to focus on stuff that I really understand. And what I understand well is that an economy is healthy when private sector entities are creating private sector full-time jobs at wages and benefit levels where families can nurture themselves and grow. That's when an economy is healthy, when its debt is under control. Economy is not healthy when government bureaucrats are running around as Pete Buttigieg did with this ridiculous racist road investigation and spending the money you just mentioned on 8 EV charging stations, spending billions of dollars. That's not a healthy economy. The economy is not healthy when it's sending delegates to Baku, Azerbaijan, to fight with indigent countries as to how much money we should siphon to their corrupt leaders beginning 2035. They're upset that the plans currently contemplate only giving $250 billion a year into perpetuity to the poorest nations on earth. That's not your economy is not healthy when you can have that many morons fly that many miles to sit in conference rooms at catered functions, probably chasing hookers around the country on cockamamie bullshit scams. That is not a healthy situation. We got to cut that crap. Trump is absolutely right. This Green New Deal shit, it needs to be cut out of it. It needs to be studied. The fraudsters need to be pursued until into prison and beyond. As much money as we can get back, we got to get back. Universities that have been promoting this bullshit need to have their tax exemptions either penalized or revoked. We need to understand how many professors have pulled how much money out of this crap for how long. That's the kind of stuff I understand. Bitcoin, Tether, I don't understand this. I don't view that as
that. Charles, we're almost out of time here, and we're going to continue our conversation over in the First Amendment Forum. People can join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Charles, we got to talk a little bit more about Matt Gaetz. He's stepped aside.
Sure.
He's been tweeting a lot of stuff like about how Democrats have filed so much stuff in court saying that special counsel, candidates don't have to be confirmed by the Senate, hinting at all kinds of potential roles he could have in this upcoming Trump presidency. So we'll get your take on that and lots of other stuff in less than 5 minutes. People, stay with us. And if you're not already a sponsor, join us on Odyssey. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching.